If you don't like Taylor Swift, you are gonna hate this episode. So number 6 for 2012 is the Omega Experiment's self-titled debut. It's a phenomenal record from start to finish, and it plays off exactly like that. It's a record. It's one song, it tells a story, it's got conveyance of emotions through the music, through the lyrics, through little interludes, through stories told by guitarist and lead singer Dan Wheaton, and it's about the life of an addict. It's about going from a child to living as an addict to, taking drugs to recovery, and that's the whole story. It just doesn't end where he becomes an addict and that's it, and you're sitting there like, oh, there's really not that much closure. It's a very, very joyous occasion, I guess, for lack of a better term. And to top it all off, the guitar playing is just mind-blowing. And to go along with that, Dan's voice is just insane, which I'm sure you heard a little bit in the preview. It's to think that one person could be that talented. And the funny thing is, too, that Devin Townsend actually complimented him on, being a really good singer and everything. So, Dan Wheaton. Alright, so number 5 for 2012 is I Am Anonymous by Headspace. I had actually never heard of Headspace to begin with before this year. They had one EP out. They toured with Haken over in England, and that's where I had heard of them through one of the flyers. Very, very cool progressive rock band. Another band that's, really made a breakthrough with their debut. It tells a story. Once again, I'm a sucker for records that tell a story. I'm a sucker for records that flow, that are just not a collection of songs. And the record tells the story of this soldier, goes to war, comes home, has to deal with telling his family what he saw with depression, and the last song, The Big Day, is probably one of the most heart-wrenching songs I've ever heard in my entire life. Just grabs you right in the feels. Like this area right here, the feels area, grabs you. It's not what you expect. They know how to write music very, very well, but they know how to write a story in there that keeps it interesting, that isn't just this stupid story that just kind of tags along with the music so it isn't all instrumental. Outside the lyrics, though, it's really cool that they use lots of double bass. They use 8-string guitars. Alan Wakeman goes nuts on the keyboards. I mean, where could he have learned that? Probably not his dad. His dad was only Rick Wakeman. Everyone in the band brings something to the table, brings this really, really unique feel to the album that there are certain parts that'll just get stuck in your head all day, but then there are other parts where you're like, oh, dear, what the fuck is going on? Holy shit. So, it's diverse. Very diverse, very cool. Number 4 for the year is Throes of Absolution by Seven Horns, Seven Eyes, which is essentially just a slower, sludgier, doomier Opeth that never got bad after Blackwater Park and just kept doing their thing. It's really, really interesting to hear a record that keeps this very, very doomy pace throughout it, even though it's got some faster parts. And at the same time, they play with time signatures, they play with beat displacement. It gets interesting. There's a lot of really, really fast guitar solos. The vocals don't really get much higher than the lowest lows in existence. Sure, I mean, there's some higher screams, but by and large, it's just low, 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 slow, and low. And that might sound like a bad thing to some people, but just go through the record once. There's orchestral touches. It's heavy. It's heavy as hell. It's everything a lot of bands wanted to accomplish and just fell a little bit short of. The production is insane. I know I bring up a lot of production things with a lot of different CDs, but I'm a sucker for good production, and this had it. And to top it all off, Jeff Loomis is on the last track, which means just shred Central Station just the entire time that he's playing, which isn't a bad thing again. You know, it doesn't showcase the guitars throughout the record in a way where, you know, you're thinking like, oh god, here's another friggin' guitar solo, or oh god, like they're just... It's creative. The riffs work. The whole band makes the riffs and the time signatures and the displacements work in a way that it creates this whole atmospheric heavy that you might not be used to, but after listening to it, you're just like, oh, you know, shit, like, where can I get more of that? And that sucks, because there's nowhere else to get more of that. They're the proprietors of that sound, so you'll just have to wait. Alright, so my number 2 EP for the year is Teratogenesis by Revocation. It's Revocation doing Revocation the best that they know how to at this point in their careers. I know that their last record was more experimental than the one before it, which is the one that I fell in love with. That's the one where I realized that, you know, this is a band that I really want to listen to. I really want to go to their shows. I really want to follow. And the last one didn't necessarily turn me off to the band, but it just got a little out there. It got a little strange for me. But this EP really, really brought it home. It's old school thrash. It's just no punches pulled, just in your fucking face the entire time. The playing is phenomenal. The production is a lot better. The production sounds a little more roomy, a little more natural than the other one, Chaosiforms. Chaosiforms felt a little too digital, a little too flat to me. But with Teratogenesis, I feel like they're bringing it home back to what they wanted to be for once. They wanted to be like this old school, thrashy, new wave sort of band. Not new wave, you know what I mean. New wave of thrash, if you want to get all technical about genres. And they finally got that. They friggin' nailed it on this one. It's thrash, man. There's no other way to describe it. It's just fucking thrash. Hey guys, thanks again so much for watching, for dropping me YouTube comments, for dropping me messages, for dropping me anything on Facebook. I really do appreciate that. And I actually wanted to take a little bit of time at the end of the video to point out that I am wearing a shirt by Venus Fallen Clothing. So go down into the information for this video, which I kept really short because I kept most of the information about this series in the other video, which I will put a link to so you can watch it. Go into the information, check out Matt Haidu's Venus Fallen clothing line. It's great. It really is. His clothes are comfortable. They're not overpriced. They're fucking awesome. Period. That's it. They're great clothes.